So we've just talked about major depressive episodes. That doesn't necessarily mean the patient has a major depressive disorder, and we'll explain the difference between episodes and disorders. But now we're going to move on to describing what is a manic episode. It's not necessarily the opposite of depression, because actually a patient can have both depressive episodes mixed in with a manic episode and vice versa. The DSM criteria mandate that a person must have a distinct period where they're abnormally expansive or elevated or even irritable mood, and they have increased activity or energy. So you have to have both of those criteria to meet the criteria for a manic episode. Just like a severe depression can involve hallucinations and delusions, same thing can happen in a full-blown mania. So what are the criteria? Well, we talked about abnormally elevated mood, irritability, and a persistent increase in energy. It's got to last at least 1 week. Okay, that's the cutoff, 1 week. And you have to have 3 or 4 of the criteria listed. So grandiosity, a decreased need for sleep. So the patient is not sleeping very much, and they may be sleeping 2 hours, 4 hours, or not at all, but they don't really miss it, meaning they still have energy the next day. Now, a patient may complain of insomnia because with all those racing thoughts and distractibility, sleep would be an oasis of calm, serenity, but they can't sleep and they don't need it in order to function. There's often pressured speech, or the patient is hyperverbal, meaning they're just talking nonstop about all kinds of things. A flight of ideas, meaning ideas go from one topic to another with very loose linkage between those ideas. Or they can have racing thoughts, and patients are very good at understanding what you mean when you say, are your thoughts racing? Are they going fast, or are they a steady pace? In fact, one of the things that I use to distinguish normal happiness from a hypomanic or manic episode is whether the thoughts are racing or not, because in normal happiness, the thoughts don't race, they don't jump around. In mania, they do. Patient with mania is distractible, meaning they could be talking or doing one thing and immediately switch to doing something else. In fact, they may get nothing done because they're trying to accomplish so many things. And there is an increase in goal-directed activity. The person will stay up all night cleaning their home, they'll be trading in the stock market, they'll be having sex, etc. So they're very goal-driven, and they show signs of motoric hyperactivity. In addition, and this is very important, there's an increased involvement in pleasurable activities that have a high potential for consequences. So unrestricted buying sprees, like going out and buying things that you don't really need and later on having to return them. In some cases they don't return them. They may rack up high levels of debt, credit card debt that they can't possibly pay down. There are sexual indiscretions. One of the concomitant features of a manic episode is being hypersexual. And so that may be masturbating multiple times a day, or maybe going out and seeking multiple sexual partners. So just like we have mnemonics for a depressive episode, we have one for a manic episode as well. Dig fast is a mnemonic, and you can see all the criteria listed with this mnemonic. Other symptoms of mania that are not included in the actual criteria: sensual acuity. This is really interesting. A person will describe that colors look sharper, sounds are more stimulating, smells are kind of intoxicating. So they have an acuity of senses that's very pleasurable. There's mood lability. One of my supervisors in residencies said he never made a manic patient that he couldn't make cry within 2 minutes. And so these patients may go from elation to irritability to tearfulness at the drop of a hat. They often have poor insight. Now, a patient who's lived with bipolar disorder for a long period of time may very well know that they're in a manic episode, but early on in the illness, they have no clue that there's anything wrong. There can be aggressiveness, and again, just like with a major depressive episode and a manic episode, there's commonly hallucinations and or delusions. So here is video 2 of a patient with a manic episode.
What is so urgent that you cannot stay here?
I have to get to the Capitol building. I have to get to the Capitol building. You see, they have to hear my speech. I was up all night working on it, and I practiced it too. They have to know what's wrong, and they have to fix it.
What has to be fixed?
The economy, of course. You see, I've had this wonderful idea, and no one's thought of it before, and it's going to change the way that we live. And the American people, they're depending on me, and I'm the only one with the key.
What is your solution?
Oh, so many ideas, so fast. It's like a newsreel. And you see all the world's news coming in and the papers flying. That's what it's like for me.
And these thoughts would help the U.S. economy.
Not just the U.S., the world.
Tell me more about your theory.
Well, you see, it involves bringing the Indians to America. The Indians, not the ones that have always been here.
So you would bring the people from India to the United States.
And that's just the first part. You see, the second part involves a subsidy for corn. Oh, you're not getting it. I'd much rather wait and explain myself to Congress.
Well, do you have other ideas?
Lots. Oh, but they come and go so fast, I lose them. It's like trying to catch a fly with your bare hands. Or tapping. Each tap is an idea.
Have you recently been taking any medications?
No medications. Medication disrupts my work.
Have you shared your ideas with anybody else?
I keep my plans to myself. You see, my girlfriend doesn't understand. My friends don't understand. They all think I'm crazy. Crazy Mark!
Do you ever think you're crazy?
Geniuses are geniuses because they're crazy.
How have you been sleeping?
Sleep? I don't sleep. I don't want to sleep. I have work to do, and I haven't slept in 48 hours.
So are you tired?
No, I'm like a hurricane. I'm moving forward on air. It's a wonderful feeling. You should try it.
Your girlfriend mentioned to me that recently you bought lots of movies.
Oh, movies. I love movies. People should see movies. You can never see enough movies.
What do you need the movies for?
Research. I have a library, and movies contribute to my ideas.
Do you sometimes feel people misunderstand you?
Of course. You see, people can't see what I'm thinking, and my thinking is too advanced for most people.
What were the movies that you needed to buy?
Spielberg. I realized I only had one Spielberg movie. One. So I realized I had to go and get the rest.
All of them?
Formulas. Blockbuster movies are built on formulas. Research is built on formulas. So I went to the store and I bought the rest of Spielberg's movies. I cleared the entire shelf.
How much did that cost?
$900. But it was for research.
Have you made any other large purchases?
Well, when I got home, I realized you can't have a large action movie collection without George Lucas's work and James Cameron's and Michael Bay's. And Michael Bay is great with women. He loves beautiful women. He's, how to say this nicely, good with women. And Woody Allen, he loves young, beautiful women too. And I had to get all of Woody Allen's movies, and most of Woody Allen's movies are set in New York, and you can't have New York movies without King Kong.
Oh, you really do love movies.
Oh, I love movies. I love movies. I love movies. I love movies. I love movies, but they bore me.
They bore you?
They're not fast enough. So I leave the movie theater or my TV, and I work on my ideas. Idea number 347, how to reduce traffic accidents. I got that one after watching Grand Theft Auto. Can I tell you about it? It's revolutionary.
So let's describe the mental status exam in this case. So he's a 20-year-old guy, well-groomed, wearing glasses, and casually dressed. He's cooperative. He definitely has motoric agitation. You see a lot of gesticulations. He can barely keep his hands still. His speech is pressured. At times it gets very loud. His mood is expansive. You wouldn't quite call it elated, but it's expansive. It's like he's talking about everything, and he seems excited about everything. But his affect is restricted to that expansiveness. There's no fluctuations in his mood. His thought process is tangential. At times there are loose associations between ideas. He's got grandiose delusions. He's got he's not been asked about hallucinations, suicidality, or homicidality. And again, those always need to be asked and documented. His insight is poor. He doesn't seem like he realizes there's anything wrong with him at this time. Oh, and his judgment really hasn't been elicited, but that's the question of, okay, so you're feeling this way, what do you want to do about it? But I have the feeling that if you ask him that, he just wants to buy more records, see more movies, etc. Go to Congress and try to peddle his ideas, etc. And that would be poor judgment. So not everybody goes through these stages of mania, but it has been described in some that there are stages. Initially, there's the labile affect, the expansiveness, grandiosity, but the person's still in control. In stage 2, the speech becomes more pressured. There may be open hostility. The ideas become less and less linked. And again, they've got actual delusions. In stage 3, they can be bizarre, incoherent, desperate, with hallucinations. So this was described in 150 AD. There are infinite forms of mania, but the disease is one. If mania is associated with joy, the patient may laugh, play, dance night and day, and go to the market crowned as a victor in some contest of skill. The ideas the patients have are infinite. They believe they are experts in astronomy, philosophy, or poetry. The patient may become excitable, suspicious, and irritable. Hearing may become sharp, get noises and buzzing in the ears, or they may have visual hallucinations, bad dreams, and the sexual desires may get uncontrollable. Aroused to anger, patient may become wholly mad and run unrestrainedly, roar aloud, kill his keepers, and even lay violent hands upon himself. Beautiful description of what we see now, described 2,000 years ago. Okay, now let's shift from a manic episode, which is quite severe and serious and almost always requires hospitalization or near hospitalization. Hypomanic episode lasts for 4 or more days, okay? A manic episode 1 week. This is a watered down version of manic episode, and it lasts only 4 or more days. Again, you got to have the elevated or irritable mood and increased energy in order to meet the criteria. Now, they're the same criteria as mania, but they're less intense and severe. This is difficult to diagnose because there's no significant or marked impairment or hospitalization going on, and there's no psychotic symptoms. So the patient, he or she just feels happy. They rarely go to the physician complaining, hey doc, help me out, I'm feeling too good. So they don't recognize there is an issue, and because there are not marked symptoms, it can be missed by others as well. So here you got the same criteria, except it lasts 4 days, and there's no psychosis, hospitalization, or marked social or occupational dysfunction. Now, there still can be. So if a person spends a lot of money and becomes financially strained, sure, they're having impairment and dysfunction, but it's not so severe that they require hospitalization. So hypomanic episode, there are still consequences, but they're not severe.